Hi there, it's me, Jordan Van Haslo. Welcome to Jordan Van Haslo and Friends live on Hot 702.5 FM Las Vegas. Let's get on with the show.
This meeting is being recorded.
Welcome to another episode of Showtime with Jordan Van Haslo and Friends right here on Hot 702.5 FM Las Vegas. We got two good friends here today. Well, one, a good friend of mine, and the other, a good friend of his. You'll remember our first guest, Ryan Newcomb. He's actually been on the show before. He's a former colleague of mine from Sony Pictures, a noted television producer, and also the founder of In the Queue Records, a distributor of limited edition vinyl music. Our second guest is Tanya Pearson. She is an historian, and she's also the director of the Women of Rock Oral History Project, which is a collection of digital interviews and transcripts focusing on lesser publicized women who have contributed to the rock and roll narrative. And these two wonderful people have come together for a new project, partnering with quite a few other prominent musicians. And I can't wait to talk about it, and we will. But I first want to say hello to both of you. Thank you so much for being here today.
Hello, thanks.
Yes. Hello, Jordan. Nice to see and hear you again.
Indeed. How long you guys have been working on this project, and we'll tell them what it is, but how long have you been working on this project? Like kind of to get it going.
Well, Tanya actually created the project, birthed the project into the world about a year and a half or so ago, 2 years ago. But Tanya and I got connected in March of this year. So I've been involved since that time.
Yeah.
All right, awesome. So why don't you tell us a bit about the project, Tanya?
Well, I had written a book, came out in middle of the pandemic, 2021, called Why Marianne Faithfull Matters, for University of Texas Press, and it came out in the UK. Faber Books published it, and Marianne was really sick and actually almost died. She got COVID while I was writing it, so I didn't get to talk to her while I was writing the book, but I sent it to her when it was finished. And she actually, which I think this is a very high compliment, she said she liked it and that I didn't get everything, but I got most of it. And so I was like, I'll take it. And so we'd been kind of like pen pals since then, talk on the phone sometimes, but a lot of texting and emailing. And she was still very sick and recovering from long COVID and a lot of other health issues. And she's talked about this in the press, but she was even intubated at one point. And so like when my book was ready to come out, all these articles were coming out like, Marianne Faithfull, like, will she live through COVID? It was a really weird time. But so she can't tour anymore and she can't perform live. And everyone knows like the state of the industry now is that you have to just tour constantly in order to make a living. And one of the things that really bothers me is that like if you are a musician or an artist, you know, there's no retirement plan for icons. There's no like 401k for musicians, and you really don't have a safety net to like sort of carry you through old age, or if you can't perform anymore, then that's kind of it. So I had just asked her, you know, I'm thinking about like putting something together to raise some money, and it was in the middle of COVID, so I had thought about like a live stream performance, but that just didn't work out because everyone was sort of hunkered down. And so I thought, well, what about a tribute album that would be a benefit album? All of the proceeds would be donated directly to Marianne. So I started thinking about this and talking to her about it in like 2021. And Robert Fagan is Danita Sparks from L7, her manager and partner. I knew him and just threw the idea by him, and he started introducing me to people and labels who might be interested. And Ryan was the only one who was willing to forego a profit. So I even talked to like Marianne's actual record labels, and they were like, great idea, until I said, well, I want all the money to go to her. And then they were like, oh, we can't do that. I'm like,
Right.
well, you can, but like you don't feel like it.
Mhm.
So, but yeah, so Robert introduced me to Ryan, and then that's how we got hooked up in March. And before that, it had just been me just like trying to find a label who would put it out. Yeah, so it took a long time.
Yeah. What attracted you to the project, Ryan?
Um, well, I mean, the two big things are obviously Marianne, but then the other thing is the amount and quality of the artists that were involved that had already recorded, because Tanya has all these, relationships with all of these different musicians that she works with on different projects with Women of Rock um, organizations. So all the music was all recorded at this point. And so she was really just looking for a label to come in and sort of facilitate the last steps of it.
Right.
So when Robert sent me a message and was like, hey, would you be interested in doing a Marianne Faithfull tribute album, and started naming off some of the names, like Shirley Manson from Garbage and Peaches, and Tanya Donnelly from Belly, and Tracy Bonham, and Donita Sparks from L7, and the list goes on and on and on and on. And I was like, this is like my somebody opened up my CD wallet from 1995 and was like, here you go. And just to divert real quick, part of the reason why I started the label in the beginning was to reissue my favorite albums from the 90s, albums that never got a proper release, or they're really hard to find, yada yada. So that was sort of one of the motivators for starting the label to begin with. So it felt sort of like it was kind of coming full circle.
Yeah.
To
And it
be
sounds like your
able to,
label's mission sort of aligns with the Women of Rock Oral History Initiative to a certain extent, right?
yeah, to an extent, you have to,
Just in terms of like, bringing some things that maybe didn't get seen in the way that they should have been seen, or the way you thought they should have been seen, and kind of bringing them back to the forefront today.
yeah, no, exactly. That's a really great parallel between the two. And, in general, my sort of motto or philosophy, if you will, with the label is that, I'm not trying to own anyone's music. I'm not trying to make more money than any musician, so all of the projects that we've done up until this point have all been more artist focused and less label focused. Like, as long as I can like recoup my money, I'm cool, because this really is a passion project. This isn't my day job, if you will.
Yeah.
uh, so yeah, so going back to your question, so seeing all those names, I was like, that I was just instantly like, fanboying out. Like, so that was a great motivator. So yeah.
Yeah. I want to go back. We're going to talk more about Marianne, but I want to learn a little bit more about the Women of Rock and Roll project. How did that come about? And what were you doing prior to that?
Oh, Jesus. Oh, so prior to
Yes.
that,
Yes. You were born, and then what happened?
yeah. No, I was gonna say it's always funny. So I'm like a late in life student. So prior to that, I was like drinking and smoking crack, and then went to rehab. And so that's a big part of my
It's
story.
kind of rock and roll.
I got I got clean and sober and went back to school at like 28. Got into Smith College at 30. So I got my bachelor's from Smith, and while I was at Smith, which is this very prestigious, institution, and I was like,
Hmm.
wow, there's so many opportunities here because they have so much money. And if, I so I started the Women of Rock Oral History Project there. simply because I was writing a research paper on, again, I'm like the 90s women in rock are sort of my archetype. That's, I grew up and I was writing this paper and I couldn't find on the internet, right? Because they existed like pre-internet. And I couldn't find enough information to sort of cite in my paper. And so I'm just like kind of crazy. Like Lydia Lunch calls me a scrapper and she's like, you're just a scrapper. You just like get it done. So I was like, I'll just start interviewing people. And I remember it was like Veruca Salt, Lydia Lunch, Kristen Hirsch, JD Sampson, and Mary Timony were my first chunk of interviews. And that was in 2014. And I've just kept it going since then and basically have like built a career and sort of I'm about to defend my dissertation. I'm a college professor now, and everything has been based on like this passion to like recover these sort of forgotten histories. So that's when I started it. I was just like a 30-year-old college student, and I'm like, I don't know, probably like I'll just ask, Lydia Lunch if she'll let me interview her, and all these people said yes, and then I got Smith to sort of house it to make it legitimate.
Right.
And now it's like a thing. Now it's a nonprofit. And yeah.
Are there other things, because I know you've written books and now you're doing this project, are there other things that you ultimately want to do? Because it sounds like the Women in History project is a wonderful launch pad with, like you said, like it's legitimized through Smith.
Yeah. So, I mean, I am like a glutton for those long form oral history interviews. So some of mine will be 6 hours, and it's just however long someone will sit with me. I'd say most of them are like an hour and a half, but I realized that most people aren't like me. And so they like snippets. And so what I'm doing is I've been using those interviews as a basis. My second book is coming out next January, Pretend We're Dead, The Rise, Fall, and Resurrection of Women in Rock in the 90s. And it also got picked up to be a docu-series. So
that's wonderful.
Like, yeah, I know. I'm really excited. I'm trying to get Ryan a job on that too. So to wait till the end of January for this next meeting. But yeah, so I'm basically like, the long form interviews are like the foundation for just other sort of smaller, more palatable projects, I think. And I'm a huge fan of documentaries. Like all I do is read and watch documentaries and Christmas specials like around the holidays. But I mean, that's about it. So this is, that is ultimately what I wanted to do. And it's still sort of, it still kind of blows my mind that, when I don't know, just that I did it because I don't really know how I did it.
Well, it's also really incredible because like you created this out of a need for it. Because it didn't exist. That information, that accessibility, that information was just not there. And now you've created something that like, no matter what you do off of that, like that's just going to be such a wealth of information for so many people, for decades. And
and that was my motivation too, is that I wanted all of that to be public, because it's not like it's like these are my interviews and then I write but no, it's for everyone. Every interview that I have permission to make public, you can watch the whole thing on YouTube, on my website, on Vimeo, and I am always encouraging people to use them. Like these are the sort of citable primary source documents that you need in like journalism and in scholarship. And so I want people to use them. And so they're there for everyone. So, write stuff, I don't know, make stuff, use it.
I think that's wonderful. All right. So you're talking to Marianne, you come up with this idea. So who's the first person that came on board? What was the process of actually putting it together?
Oh, Shirley Manson. So Shirley has this funny saying. She always says, she's Scottish, you know, and I can't do the accent, but she always says, "I'll be you'll hug your huckleberry." I did Google it to like know what that meant. So I had interviewed her in 2018, I think, and just kept in contact. I try to keep in touch with everyone. Number one, because I appreciate them, and number two, just to, you know, if something else ever comes up, just maintaining those relationships is helpful. And I knew that she also is like a huge Marianne fan. So she's the first person I asked because obviously I'm like, if Shirley says yes, then other people are going to be like, oh, Shirley's doing it and like not taking any money and is doing it for free. Then, like, yeah, I want to be part of that. And that's pretty much exactly what happened. So Shirley Manson was once again our Huckleberry. And she was the first
Did,
person that signed on, was like, I'm claiming, why'd you do it? It's like, of course you are. It's yours. And then a couple months later, she was one of the first people to turn their songs into, but I had also just interviewed Peaches and they're very good friends. And she was like, yeah, I think I want to do it with Peaches. Like, you know, is that cool? And I was like, is that cool? That is possibly the coolest collaboration ever on like the filthiest, most explicit song ever. So, yep.
Yeah, Jordan, are you
The
familiar with
first.
that song?
I'm sorry.
Jordan, are you familiar with that song of
I
Mary?
am.
Yeah.
Yeah, really a quick sidebar on that is we were having a conversation when I got involved in this with Robert, and we were talking about, should, what songs should we push to radio and different things like that and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, well, I mean, I really want the Shirley and Peaches song to go to the radio
Yeah.
because they did such an incredible job with it with Greg Kirsten and Billy Bush on there as well. And the production is just so cool. And it's just like, you just feel like you're at a dance club. Like
Yeah.
when you get like,
Yeah.
it is just full on. And I was like, I don't think there's a way to do a radio edit of this song. I mean, it's like literally every other word.
It would just be like boop, 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 boop. With like
Yeah.
a pulsing beat.
Did you have an idea of like how many tracks you were going to cap it at, or how many artists you were going to reach out to when you began, or did you just kind of spread a wide net and hope for the
Yeah,
best?
so the mistake I made was I cast a wide net at the beginning, and
Uh,
then other people that said yes, like Lydia Lunch was like, "Hey, my friend Sylvia Black like would love to do this, loves Marianne." I'm like, "Okay." And then before I knew it, I went, "Oh shit," because I wasn't even thinking about vinyl. I'm not a label person. I didn't have a label yet. I just thought it was going to be like streaming or something.
right.
So the amount of songs didn't matter. And then once, I mean, I love vinyl. And so when Ryan came on and was like, I think we should do vinyl, I'm like, okay, well, I have like 19 tracks. So that I had to start saying no to people, but it was just, I had like the first dozen, and then people like Lydia Bush Tetras introduced me to Felice Roaster Faith NYC, and that's one of my favorite songs on the album. And I just think like she's amazing. So I was like, yes. I didn't know her personally, and then there were 19, but at first I was thinking like 10 or 12.
So how did that? She comes to you, Ryan, and you say we should do vinyl, and she's like, okay, wonderful. I have 19 tracks.
Yeah, it was. Well, I mean, the whole, I definitely got involved late in the game, right? So everything was done. I did contribute, well, not me contribute, but I contributed one artist to
Yeah.
the mix. As soon as like it was probably the same day that I think that
Yeah.
Tanya and I talked the first time. As soon as I got off that phone call, I was so excited about it. And so I immediately called up Jordan, you know her, Jessie Pale, the incredible
Yeah, I love
Jessie
Jesse.
Pale, is one of our dearest friends, and one of her projects is Pom Poms. And ever since I saw them live for the first time several years ago, blown away, and I'm just still blown away that they're not massively huge. But as soon as I was hearing about this project, I was like, oh my God, I have to get Jessie on this. So I called Jessie right away, and she was like, oh my God, are you she's like, I freaking love Marianne, and I was telling her some of the artists involved, and she's like, this is like unbelievable. So, and they did, Pom Poms did an incredible version of Brain Drain from Marianne's Broken English album, and it's so fits with Pom Pom's sound and yada yada. But so anyway, so yeah, the project, I could definitely got involved with it late because everything was done. And one of the biggest things that you have to do with this sort of album is getting the licensing figured out. So I didn't really think about the amount of tracks at first, because I was like, well, I need to get all the licensing squared away for this, and that's not always the easiest thing to do. So I was like, there might be some songs that drop out, there might be songs that we just can't get cleared. Thankfully, that wasn't the case, because I think every single song on this album deserves to be there, and it just it would feel different if any of the songs were missing, I feel like. So yeah, it wasn't until all the licensing got squared away, and then I was like, okay, well, we got 19 songs. I guess we're doing a double album. But I think that just built, like, I'm a huge vinyl lover. I mean, that's why I started the label, because it's just a vinyl focused label. But I love vinyl. I love all the variants. I love the liner notes and the gatefolds, and just a vinyl record is a story. It's a time capsule of a moment. And so I think, had it only been one disc, I think it might have felt a little incomplete.
Yeah.
And another sidebar on too is that Marianne has had such an incredibly long career, starting in the early 60s. So the way that we sequenced the tracks on the album are chronologically to when Marianne released them. So the first song on the album was Tracy Bonham doing As Tears Go By, which was Marianne's first single in 1964, up until Marianne's album Before the Poison, which was released in 2004. So it's literally a 40-year span in order. And so it just really tells a story. And sidebar, Before the Poison was masterfully done by an amazing group called Feminine Aggression, and Miss Tanya Pearson is the drummer of said band, Feminine Aggression.
We had to put ourselves on it,
I love it. Was it shocking, Tanya, to like discover, like, oh, we're gonna put together a record, but then to bump into how many logistical and operational, with the licensing, was it kind of a shock? Like, oh crap, this is more. I have to be. There's much more involved than I thought.
It wasn't a shock, but because I had done little covers records before, and I've always played in bands. I just know that I don't know how to do all of that. Right. And so there were 2 months when I was just I would just text Ryan and be like, thank you, because I know you've just taken over, and this is all of that technical legal stuff that I don't have any background in. I wouldn't have known how to like approach it, especially like different licensing and publishing for streaming versus downloads versus vinyl versus if you do like CDs. Like I knew it was a huge pain in the ass. So yeah. I was like grateful. I was not surprised. I was grateful to have someone who that knew what they were doing to like take over that part and to keep in touch with all, because the whole time you want to like remain transparent with the artists. And so everything takes a long time. There's a lot of like waiting around and waiting for responses, and there's always something. And so Ryan was, yeah, I remember there were just a few months where I was just like, thank you. I know this really sucks. I know this sucks.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's hard enough, kind of corralling a band, if you're putting out a band's album and there's like 3 or 4 members, or even just a solo artist, like there's so much, but then you have, there's 19 songs, but there's 25 artists, on this album, because there's several duets.
Yeah.
And so I mean, it was a feat. It was a feat. But I have to say, literally every single person involved in this project has been so incredible to work with, so communicative, and really like just so willing to do everything. Going back to Shirley, like she's done several interviews, her and Peaches have done several interviews. They're always just ready and willing, like anything you want. And I think that just the dynamic of the project is so different than anything else, because again, all these people have recorded these songs at their own cost. They own the master song, but they're not making any sort of profit off of the sales of any of this. So it really is a labor of love, and just a true testament to how incredible Marianne is and how influential she is, which is without being like this huge star that everybody knows, like literally everybody knows, like a Michael Jackson or an Elvis or a, like
Right.
she's not quite at that level of, so I think it makes it even more special.
Yeah. What was her reaction when she heard it? I'm assuming she's listened to the final production.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's funny too, because I had like sent her the songs. So Marianne is older, and like older people don't really get technology. So I'd have to like send people over there, because I would send her like we had the private SoundCloud link, right? And it was so funny. I'm like, sometimes it just reminds me of like talking to my grandma or something. She'd be like, I'm clicking on it, nothing's happening. I really want to hear it. Like she was blown away. The first thing she said, I would like send her the list of people who had signed on, and she was like, Shirley Manson, my goodness. As far as I know, she was very like blown away at the number of people, that there were 19 songs. She was fans of some of them. And from what I've heard, I mean, it's taken a long, I don't even know if she's gotten through the whole album yet, because you guys need like help to like open, to click on the things. And she's in London. I mean, I would have just like flown over if I had the money and just been like, let's have like a little listening party. But she said that she was really blown away when she saw like just the track listing, the people who'd signed up to do it, what songs they chose. Was really happy about it.
So it sounds like it actually was a very smart move to do vinyl, because she'll probably be able to listen to it without any assistance.
Yeah, technology's hard.
Very true.
Yeah.
Are there any plans to do anything like ancillary to this, like get everyone together to perform it live, or to maybe like have people perform themselves doing the songs, or anything else that like an extension to find other ways to pull people into this wonderful fundraiser?
There has been some talk about trying to pull together a live show of some sort. I mean, it feels like an insurmountable task. I mean, again, like just scheduling wise, and everybody is just everywhere, around the country, and so I mean, it has been talked about, but nothing has been planned out yet. But there has been some really cool things. A lot of several of the artists have incorporated their songs into their recent live shows that they're doing. Specifically Tammy Faye Starlight, who does a really incredible version of the Ballad of Lucy Jordan, which is, well, it's in my top, I don't know, it's in my top 3 probably. But one of Marianne's most recognized songs. It was in the movie Thelma and Louise in a very pivotal
Mhm.
scene. That was the first time I ever heard the song. Um, but anyway, so Tammy Faye did a cover of that song along with Barry Reynolds, who actually was one of Marianne's longtime musical partners, especially during the Broken English era, which is when which is the album that that song comes from. And so they did a version of it, and Tammy Faye has a few years now, right? And it's been going on for a few
Yeah.
years now. She's been doing a cabaret, sort of like this cabaret tribute to Marianne, where she
Okay.
becomes Marianne, and she performs the Broken English album front to back, or she does other she just did a sold out show here in New York on, I think it was Thursday night or Wednesday night. And there's a big article in Variety that just came out on her. She's a really incredible person that I very much look forward to meeting soon. We were supposed to meet last week, but it just didn't happen. So I think there'll be some of those sort of things where people sort of build it into their sets and sort of maybe create a life of its own for each song.
And
Yeah.
didn't Tammy Faye donate that money from that show? She was like, "Can I donate this to the?" It wa-
I
that
believe
that was that
so.
show. I know. I was
Yeah,
like, "So nice."
yeah, she had messaged me about it, and she's like, "How do I get money to Marianne?" Like, I don't think she has Venmo, so we'll have to
Yeah,
figure
no, no.
out
Like
another.
what do you call the carrier pigeon? Yeah,
Mhm.
we just like tie it to the pigeon's foot, and just the pigeon flies to London. So
Right.
drop it off.
Have you had any verbal interaction with Marianne since you've been on the project, Ryan?
I have not. I've been on several emails, but I did get, because she doesn't also always respond on emails either. She's just kind of there. But I do have one email that I think there's only one where she actually responded, and I saved it. I will be printing it and framing it one day. Like just like it's a very cool thing. But no, I haven't had any direct communication with her. But I feel like I've become such a admittedly, I wasn't very familiar with her catalog.
Mhm.
And it's just so expansive. And I had just no idea of the vastness of it. And so, of course, I deep dove as soon as I got involved in this, and my vinyl collection is now quite deep. I also because we moved from Phoenix to New York this year. And so on that 2-week road trip, I stopped at every record store I could possibly find on the way. And dug through and found all these cool Marianne, oldies. But now I am very well versed on her music. But I feel like I've definitely got to know her, like through this experience without actually ever, you know, setting eyes
It's
on
kind of
her.
like that. Was it Julie and Julia? Like,
Yeah, yeah, yes, exactly. Ooh, maybe we could make a movie about them
there
doing
you go. Oh my God, I love that. Yeah, that's so cool. It's so funny knowing everything that I know about your musical tastes and how you what you fanboy out on Ryan, and hearing your interest in what you've focused on. It seems like this is like a match made in heaven, you and Tanya, like in terms of sensibility and all of that. Yes, no.
Yeah, I fully agree with that. I hope Tanya agrees with that as well.
Nope.
I'm
No, I'm
like,
kidding.
she's like, I can't wait for this to be over. Can't wait to not get freaking out, anxiety-ridden texts from anymore. No, I think that first phone call that we had, it was a meeting with Tanya, Robert, and I had known Robert for several years prior to this, and I was super nervous to meet Tanya. I was very, very nervous, like because I just felt like she was just this like I don't know this force in the women in rock arena, and it was just like she knew all these people and she had all these connections and she was doing all these things that just I had such an interest in. Um,
The way you
and
describe her, I expect her to, if I weren't seeing her, would expect her to be like smoking with a cigarette holder and like just
I would love to be smoking
like one of
so
those
when we
old
got
time agents.
right, right. So when we got on that call, I think Robert was like 20 minutes late or something like that, or something. And
in the
so,
car.
yeah, in the car, he's always in the car. And so we just like, we just became fast friends, like within that first phone call. And we just have so much in common musically. And so it's been, I think that is honestly, without even BSing you here, like I think the relationship that I've formed with Tanya throughout this process is probably the thing that I cherish most about this project. I think she already mentioned her project next year with the docu-series, and we're hopefully we can find a way to work on something where we both make money.
I know. I'm like,
Would be incredible. The only sad thing is that we moved back to New York and she was living in Massachusetts, and then she moved to Indiana a couple months after we moved to New York. So we still have not actually met.
Circling around each other.
We are going to be meeting hopefully in person this next week because she's in Connecticut right now, not too far from where I'm at. So hopefully we will get to meet in person next week.
it's gonna happen.
Well, you have all of this wonderful IP with the Women of Rock. Have you, Ryan? Well, Tanya has all of this wonderful IP to draw from to come up with ideas for projects and stuff. Have you, Ryan, kind of like taken a look or listened to a lot of it? I mean, it sounds like you'd probably take you like months, if not years, to listen to it with all of the 6 and 7 hour interviews. But have any of the things from that archive piqued your interest, or like kind of got the hamster spinning around in the wheel in your head?
I mean, nothing that's anything worth kind of talking. It's all in the brain, right? I've seen a lot of the interviews and different things, and they're just so interesting. I mean, because I think Tanya has a way of disarming whomever she's talking to, and it just becomes so natural and just so organic, the conversations that happen. So it's really interesting. It's not stuffy, like here's my questions, and oh, gotta cut for time, like stop talking about it. So it really becomes this very natural sort of conversation, so you kind of feel in the room with it. But yeah, as far as other projects, I mean, I would be very sad if this is the first and last thing that we ever do with each other. I think there's so many possibilities. So I'm just, I'm excited for whatever may come.
Yeah. So I know the vinyl is in pre-order now. But it is available on streaming. The album, it was launched on streaming, right? I don't know the exact date. What date did it come out?
Yep. So the album came out just over 2 weeks yesterday. Came out on December 8th. It's on select streaming platforms. So it's on Spotify, YouTube Music, Pandora, Deezer, Tidal, and iHeartRadio. Unfortunately, it is not on Apple or Amazon. I apologize to everybody. I hear you. I see your messages. I get your emails. I'm very sorry about it. Licensing stuff is the licensing part of that is too boring to talk about right now, but it's just not on there. It is not available for digital downloads either, unfortunately, at least at this time. So you can either stream it, or which would be the preferred, is that you buy the vinyl, because that is, for all musicians, between touring and merch, that is where artists make the bulk of their money. So, and in the same situation,
it's also like a piece of art too, even if you don't have because the artwork, Jill Emery did it, who's one of the nicest people on the face of the planet.
Yes,
and
we love Jill.
She's an amazing painter, folk artist, and she painted the cover. And I personally am just like, she played in Hole, Mazzy Star, Super Heroine. So I've also interviewed her. We got to know each other, but I have a lot of her art just like framed in my house. And so I got another copy because I have a lot of just like weird Marianne stuff anyway. I have like girl on a motorcycle original poster. I'm like kind of a Psycho fan. So you can also just like frame the record because it's a
Yeah.
painting and it's gorgeous. And yeah.
Yeah, Jill
Yeah.
painted it on canvas and we did a digital scan for the album. So I'm really excited. Yeah, going back to what you said, Jordan, yes, the album is available for pre-order. It got a little delayed, but we're supposed to have them at the top of January. So I'm really excited to get it in hand because I want to, because it really is, and her stuff sells for a lot of money. So, this is,
Yep.
I mean, $40, I mean,
I know.
deal. But I also really quickly I just want to quickly give a little shout out to Bandbox, who is a wonderful company. They sort of have a same um, business model, if you will, of what our label In the Queue is about, which is reissuing their favorite albums and stuff. So Bandbox does limited edition, usually 500 run reissues of albums from the 90s and 2000s. But what they do is they put together generally a 16-page full color fanzine that goes along with each release, and it's like behind the scenes stories about the recording of that album, interviews with the bands, like photos. It's just a really cool exclusive thing that comes with it. So a good friend of mine, Cash Carter, is working with them and connected me with them, and so they're doing a limited run on a pink and white splatter with the fanzine, and almost everybody that's involved in the album is interviewed in there, has some sort of blurb. It's going to be a really cool, expansive fanzine that's going to go along with it. And so you can order, I think they're almost sold out on their site, but you might go to bandboxrocks.com and you can check out that album variant from them. And then from us, we have a classic black version plus a very limited smoky gray variant, and I think there's only maybe about 10 of those left. So inthequeuerecords.com is where you can find that. And then also really quick too, because this was such a labor of love across the board, and with nobody really making money off of this at all. So Jesse Mangum came in and did the vinyl and digital mastering and did an incredible job with these songs. So I just want to give him a shout out. Dietrich, my guy that cuts lacquers, and then Blue Sprocket Pressing down in Virginia is the pressing plant for this. And they have generously stepped up to help us maximize money going back to Marianne as well. So everybody involved in this has just been so incredible, and just helping where they can and helping with what they can.
Yeah.
It takes a village.
It does. Especially when you have this many songs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yowzer. I think that this is a wonderful just project. I think the way that it happened so organically, I think the way that everybody just kind of stepped in and was so excited. I think the way like everything just down to the execution, down to the artwork, I think that it's all really wonderful. So kudos to both of you.
Well,
I can't wait
you.
to receive my copy.
Yes, definitely. I hope that we sell out of all of them very soon so that I can write a check and move
Just
on to
sent
the
it
next
in for her
project.
Move on
birthday.
to the next.
Wait, what was
Move on
that?
to the next. So before we go, I know you told us a little bit about what you have coming up project-wise, Tanya. Do you want to expand on any things that we hadn't touched on that we should be looking out for in 2024 into 2025? I can't believe it's 2024 almost.
I know.
What a ridiculous year. Like, doesn't even look right. Like 2024.
Yeah, no, right now, turned in the final draft of my book. That'll be out January 2025. We're gonna start, I guess, production on the dock in the early spring. So again, trying to get I'm not going to say trying. I'll say I am going to get Ryan hired on that so we can continue working together. But I teach full time at Ball State University, so got a day job.
What do you teach?
I teach in the Women's and Gender Studies department,
Okay.
but I'm a history is my background, but it's fun. But I do have a day job, and then I'm just always writing. So I'm just like thinking about my next book because I always need to have like a project to work on. So whether it's like this vinyl album, or I don't have a band anymore, but that was always, I live in like the middle of Indiana now, and so it's a there's no one who likes the kind of music that I like. I'll just say that. So I haven't found those people yet.
You haven't found your tribe yet.
I haven't found my tribe just yet, but that's okay. I got my garage looking great, my jam spot, and yeah. So, but those are I got the book, the docu-series that's gonna take up a lot of 2024, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah.
And then
How
I'll
about you,
start doing
Ryan?
things again.
How about you, Ryan, in the queue?
I don't have any projects on the horizon. This has been, pretty all-consuming since March.
What do you mean?
Oh, just it's been consuming, So I don't have any other
Is
projects.
there a little? I was just to interrupt you for a second, but it's been all consuming. Has some of that dissipated now that it has been released, or are you still like heavily in Marianne world?
I'm still heavily in it. Like I'm just one of those people that until something is done, I can't I can't release yet, like we were supposed to have the records in like the beginning of January, like in time for the release date to send them out. So, it's only about a month difference. But like until those boxes arrive at my front door, like I'm just always, Tanya will attest, I'll be like, this is gonna happen. This is gonna happen.
Yeah.
Like I just need to receive them and then I can like close the chapter on, in my brain. So yeah, but there's always little things. There's always little things that come up. And I'm a one-man band, for the most part. So I do all of my own social media and I create my content, and which is obvious at times. I try to be good and young and do what the young hip kids do, so it is, I do everything. So it is all consuming. But yeah, I'm looking forward to I'm looking forward to finding a new project, to kind of dive into in 2024. There's plenty of good music out there,
Cool.
so
Indeed. Indeed, it is. So we just those out in Radio Land know where they can find you to purchase the vinyl of this wonderful project, but also where they can find both of you just to keep up with you, and as these projects roll out, these future projects roll out. Tanya, where can we find you online, or where can we follow you?
Oh boy, yeah, I hate social media, so I just
well, do you have a website or something that people can check to see?
So,
like, oh yeah,
womenofrock.org. YouTube is where I post all of the videos. That is Women of Rock Oral History Project. If you just plop that in, it pops up. Have Instagram at Women of Rock OHP, a Facebook page, same at Women of Rock OHP. And yeah, I think that's it. I know. I mean, if I could just like not look at, everyone's like, you have to get a TikTok. I'm like Ryan said too, it's just me. And so people will like email me and say, I'm trying to reach like the president of Women of Rock Oral History Project. I'm like, it's just me. My name's it's not like, they're like, why haven't you interviewed this person? I'm like, because I'm one human being. One person. I'm tired. Look at my bags under my eyes. Yeah, so I hate social media. So don't don't expect daily or weekly posts. I don't do it. It's depressing. I hate it. Go on YouTube and watch all the videos, and you can follow me, and I'll post my book and documentary updates and stuff and new interviews.
Wonderful. And Ryan?
Well, you can find us on Instagram and Facebook, at in the queue_records. I'm trying to remember what the handle is, but just type in the queue records. And then our website is inthequeuerecords.com. It has our full catalog up there. We've got some other incredible releases, especially one from Jesse Peo, who I mentioned earlier, a solo 7-inch up there, for lead singer of the Pom Poms. So yeah, so you can find us there. And then you can, if you go on Instagram, in the bio part, there's like that little link tree type of thing. If you click there, I've listed out links to our website, to Bandbox's website, again, bandboxrocks.com, and then also links to all of the different platforms where you can stream the album. So, and I am posting, try to post a lot right now through all of this. So follow along. I'll be doing more things soon.
Wonderful. Well, I wish the project great success. I'm actually, as soon as we stop talking now, I'm going to go and do my pre-order. And I can't wait to get it. I can't wait to receive it. So, ladies and gentlemen, The Faithful, a tribute to Marianne Faithfull at In the Queue Records. Right now, $40 pre-sale. Thank you both for joining us today. It's been an absolute pleasure.
So much.
Yes,
Yeah,
thanks
it's
for having us.
wonderful. Yeah, absolutely. Always fun talking to you, Ryan. It's an absolute pleasure talking to you, Tanya.
You
And
too.
and keep us updated on how it moves along.
Yes,
Okay.
we'll do.
And thank you all for listening. We'll catch you next week right here on Hot 72.5 FM Las Vegas. Hi there, it's Jordan Van Haslo. Yes, that's right, that Jordan Van Haslo. I don't know if you know this, but everyone's favorite radio show and podcast is now available on Spotify. That's right, Showtime with Jordan Van Haslo and Friends, my weekly one-on-one chat with some of the most interesting people I know from the entertainment and the arts communities, can now be streamed on Spotify. That's right, I share real estate with Michelle Obama. Click the link and be sure to subscribe. And don't miss us live every Monday at 11 a.m. Pacific on Hot 702.5 FM Las Vegas. Let's get on with the show.